We want to hear at what point in this program would you like to be involved. So we're going to start with the first group, which was we're listening to pitches. Stephen Ruto.
Okay. Good afternoon. We are all well. So I'm Ruto Stephen, working in Skyline Sacco. This is a farmer Sacco that started way back 1990 and going strong. And apart from the farmers, we do a lot of facilitation in terms of projects and anything that touches our community. So for my team, I must appreciate the good work that they are doing in our communities. They are doing marvelous. We must appreciate. And thank you people for leading us in ensuring that our members are getting a living. I must appreciate to see a lot of innovation in our members. We had entrepreneurs, 6 entrepreneurs who are able to do their presentation. And for our team, we were with my sister from Family Bank. Where are you? Please just, yeah, she's there. We were able to see what they are doing. We were able to screen each and every project that they are doing, and we were very happy to be with them. We are ready as financial institutions to finance each and every project which is viable, and in terms of return period, we should always try to reduce the rate of return, period of return, and we will be able to fund each and every project that is there. We were happy if we were given this chance that we fund the groups that were able to present to us. We will do to all of them because they are doing excellent work, and those work are touching our communities. What we are here for is to ensure that our communities are getting well life and our environment is well conserved. That is our aim. So as a banking institution, in group 1, we are set. And we are ready at a time. If we were to give out this recommendation to someone to start financing, we will tell you the full number of those who presented in Team 1 are set to be funded. Lastly, there are some few challenges that are also facing in terms of maybe processing this in the projects, and they are capital intense. So maybe going forward, we will need to sit down and see these things that need a lot of capital to be started. We need to look for a way of having this. Lastly is that if possible, some entrepreneurs who have some small business which are almost competing, if it can be merged to be one and move as a team, the better. We really saw small competing businesses which need to be brought together and be merged and move forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Ruto, for that feedback. Next, we'd like to hear from the second room, which was being led by Eric. You can sit, Eric. You don't have to start. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Yes, my name is Eric Njoroge. I'm representing Microenterprise Support Program Trust as the head of fundraising and partnerships. MESPT is a development organization that majorly we are into wholesale credit lending. We led to SACCOs and cooperatives and other MFIs. I'm happy Skyline is here. So it's also a potential client if they haven't gotten any finance from us. Being a development organization, we are so much into the social impact. So our lending interest is very, very competitive. We led the MFI, SACCOs and cooperative at 6%, and you must on lend not more than 10%. So all my bank stakeholders, you know what that means. But we are not profit oriented, we are into social impact funding. MESPT was started by European Union and Government of Kenya in 2002. But in 2007, EU relinquished its mandate to Danida. So currently MESPT not owned, but we are oversighted by Danida and the Government of Kenya. So in our Board of Trustees, we have a representative from Danida, that's Loyal Netherlands Embassy, and a representative from National Treasury. But we are independent. We have a revolving fund of around 1.2 billion. We are looking at having 5 billion in the next 1 year so that we can on-lend to cooperatives and SACCOs. We work primarily with the smallholder farmers. Sorry, I'm giving you this history so that you know where I'm coming from. We work with the smallholder farmers. So if we led to Skyline Sacco at 6%, we request them to come up with a green financial product that smallholder farmers can benefit from. And looking at all the investors here, they had an aspect of agroforestry, regenerative agriculture, and anything to do with NBAs. In our room 2, we had my colleagues from Absa Bank, if they are here, Simon. Yeah, I think they have left. And the entrepreneurs were quite good. Outrightly, I saw an investor or an entrepreneur that we are ready to start doing due diligence, and that is Teges, a cooperative SACCO from Baringo, Leges. Because we work with the cooperatives. So the moment Leges started to present on Teges, oh, I like rhyming, Leges and Teges cooperative, we knew immediately this is our client because you know you're working on cooperatives. They presented a very good case. We looked, I asked some questions, governance question. I would like to know the structure, you know, their books in terms of audited reports, their meetings, they usually have AGMs. So that's a client. Overall, all the other entrepreneurs, the first thing that we saw, and I asked them later, is to be so clear on the type of ask. We have 3 asks: debt, equity, and grant. So all the entrepreneurs, although later they clarified when I followed up the question, they had a mixture of ask. There are one who are for loans, there are one for grants, and the other one for debt. Oh yeah, it was debt, equity. There's one for loan, there's one for mixture, loan and debt, and there's one for equity. As an investor, we'll be interested in loan. Our loan is quite flexible because I told you from the interest point of view, and also in the repayment period. So you can give you up to 36 months. But we don't lend directly. We lend to a SACCO, then we can direct you to that SACCO. On equity, we are not into that. But on grant, being the head of fundraising and partnership, my work primarily is to look for opportunities. So we saw a lot of entrepreneurs. These are people that we can direct to respond to call for proposals. There are so many call for proposals. And looking at them, we realize they are early stage. Except one entrepreneur, we could see the traction and revenue up to around $10,000. That's an investor-led entrepreneur, but still she needs a lot of hard holding. Other entrepreneur, and I'm sorry, I'll work with the Friends of Forest of Kenya. they had a very good presentation, but it was on tree nurseries. But during his presentation, I realized there's another product that they need to look into. They talked of, they have an app, it's called Miti Pesa. It's a gamified app. I told them that's where the deal is. If there's a way you can work with that app, it's still connected to tree nurseries, but gaming is the next big thing in Kenya. I give them a practical example. We are all parents, or if you're not a parent, then you have a niece or nephew, and you know how much time they are spending in gaming. And when they are gaming, those are revenue, they are generating revenue. So it's something that you can connect it. It's an innovative way of selling your tree nurseries, organic tree nurseries, but that can be a source of revenue. So the pitch was great. I like the preparation. And we have agreed I would like to be part of the entire consortium in terms of mentorship. We have a very strong business development department as well as credit department. And now working with David, we can be sharing these opportunities. We have some programs, upcoming programs. MESPT is involved in 5 years plus programs. And we have a potential one. So if it goes through, I know already some aggregators have been directed to MESPT from the potential donor. So I think there's a lot of synergies that we can work together. But kudos, I'm grateful to all people who prepared, the entrepreneurs. They are great, and this is the future of Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eric.
Microenterprise Support Program, MESPT. Yes, MESPT.
Thank you. Thank you to the AFR 100 team. Please ensure Tenges is supported to get that support. Thank you very much. We now move to the one-on-one. And as the only lady in our panel, we want to start with you, Regina. Just give us your insights about the companies that you met. What would you like the program to focus on as you wait for them at the tail end of the program?
Thank you, Isabella. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank E4 Impact and FAO for giving us this opportunity to come and just interact with people like us. We are investors, they are entrepreneurs, but at the end of the day, we are all human beings. So thank you for inviting us. And I got to meet 4 wonderful businesses in the agribusiness sector, that is dairy and also farming. And the last session, Isabella, that we attended was, I would say this is much better in terms of the SMEs that we've got to meet today, the growth stage. I am a representative of GBF, Grassroots Business Fund. We are running a program called Genuine Growth Program under MasterCard Foundation. We've been running this program from 2023 up to 2027. So we do financing products. We do support businesses in their growth stage and high impact scalable businesses in Kenya. We are not sector agnostic. We focus on all sectors. Our interest rates are 9.75% per annum on a reducing balance. We have 3 products, that's the working capital. We have LPO financing, and we also do a bit of CapEx. That is, if you require any machines or equipment that have commercial value to the business to help you generate additional revenue, we do have a funding facility for that. Now, to the 4 organizations, SMEs that I have met, one thing is interesting. They are creating impact in the society. 4 of them are working with smallholder farmers, providing jobs for them, making sure they have stable income for their families. That is a wonderful story. JGP is so much focused on this kind of impact to make sure you provide decent, dignified work to the society, more so providing employment to young people in the country right now. So it was a beautiful story that I had to listen from the 4, and one of them actually is from our portfolio company that we funded. Good to meet them again, and we're looking forward to continue this partnership with them. And for the 3 others, they were really interesting, and we hopefully are looking to move this conversation further with the 3 other companies that we've met. Also, one thing that I identified from these businesses is, apart from just capital, they're just looking for something beyond capital, because you can provide capital to a business, but if they don't have the right structures, they don't have the right person to work with them, then the business will just end up closing. So they're also looking for something beyond just capital, which we also do provide technical assistance. We walk through the business to just make sure you have the right structures, you have, if you want to do financial management, proper record keeping for your businesses, for your records, we do walk the journey with you. So those are some of the things that we are offering right now. Apart from just deploying capital, we do technical assistance, we walk the journey with you. We also do some pre-lending for investor readiness for businesses that in their early stage. We also do work with you through pre-lending training. We also do post-lending training to our SMEs. So I think that was a great conversation we had. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I forgot one thing for this program going forward. We would like to maybe see where we can come in as investors, both in terms of capital and also technical assistance. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Regina, for that commitment and the feedback. So we're going to progress right next to Joel. Joel Ogutu.
Yes. Good afternoon. My name is Joel Ogutu from Unconventional Capital. So just from the name, we are defying the convention. We do capital, and we are moving away from when you look at the missing middle challenge, so we normally have the demand bottlenecks and the supply bottlenecks. So from my engagement with the three firms, I got very interesting business models that I may want to pursue, the three of them. Away from the discussion, I've also had two entrepreneurs approaching me, just being excited by the name. So it means people are defying the normal. People are doing the extraordinary things. So I want to walk the journey with them. So what came out from our discussion, the businesses are ready, but they ask somebody having the right, looking out for the right fund, because somebody, based on the project that they are supposed to do, and they're looking for that, some may not be suitable. So we need to know which investment vehicle is suitable for my business. So that is an area that entrepreneurs should focus on, so that they look for the right fund for the right purpose. Then another area of exclusion from an entrepreneur was self-exclusion. This lady told me that she has not approached any financial because of what she had, that these people are they'll limit your growth, they'll repossess you if you don't pay. So just based on the negative attitude or the negative information that they got from a friend, that has held them back from seeking financing. So it means this person has relied on retained earning, which may not be sufficient to scale the business to the next level. So we need to do a lot of training or information exchange so that you demystify the myth that all financials are just prohibitive for their growth. Last is on the business planning and record keeping. Yes, we need to provide technical assistance. Most of them are not having the right investment ready businesses in terms of registration status. So that may also limit the investors from investing in the businesses. On the supply side, challenges on us, the financial institutions, to provide appropriate products. And also, we are also constrained in terms of the risk, because you find the business model is not well tested, and you don't have a de-risking opportunity. So that one holds us back from investing. So I think in the future, this program should also focus how do we de-risk the entrepreneurs, especially on the early stage. Okay, lastly, to where I work. So we provide capital to SMEs. We try to bridge the missing middle gap by addressing the supply side factors and also the demand side factors. One of them, the major one, is the bottleneck of the collateral. So we provide capital, we don't charge collateral. So it means we save the entrepreneur the cost of charging and also the availability. And then the flexibility. We fund agribusiness enterprises, and you see one of the limitations, or why most financials defy agribusinesses because of the seasonality in production. So we come up with a solution through revenue-based financing, whereby our repayment is pegged on the revenue that you generate. So this gives business the leeway. When the business is doing well, they pay more. When the business is down, they pay less. Our interest rate is 1.67%. Yeah, and the cost is just attributed to the fact that we also try to give a return to investors and also to sustain the model so that we are able to reach more value chain actors. Thank you, and I conclude by thanking the organizers. Yeah, I'm impressed by the organization of the event. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Joel. So in the same spirit, Peter, over to you.
Good evening. My name is Peter Njoroge from Motorhope Capital. Must say that I'm really excited to be here and to meet these amazing people here. And I must admit that you guys are amazing. The extent of the work that most entrepreneurs are doing here is quite amazing and inspiring. And talking to investors, talking to entrepreneurs today, one thing that I realized is that they're just talking one voice, and the voice is food security. And I believe, and so is any government, that food security is the backbone of any nation. And that's why we are here. And my ambition, as far as it's the ambition of so many entrepreneurs today, is that we'll get to a point that the richest man will one day be a farmer. Because the extent of the work that you guys are doing just to have that trickle-down effect on the smallholder farmers is quite amazing. And it's a good thing that we are doing here, and the partners on board today, what you've done is amazing. And I really look forward to a point that we'll have testimonials indicating that indeed they came through such a program, they got matched to investors, and here they are, they've been catapulted to another level. So I talked to quite a number of entrepreneurs today, and I think I have 4 things that I came to realize. And this more around the program, more around the investors. I realized that we really need to have a serious discussion on concessional loans. And when you talk of a concessional loan, this is a loan that is away from the traditional loans in terms of the structure and all that. Because remember, all these entrepreneurs, they are at different levels of growth, and they are facing different hardship levels. So as policymakers, we really need to come up with an avenue that we can agree on a concessional loan, because we can just have one fits all. For example, if we just say our interest rate is 1.25%, does it cut across to all entrepreneurs? Do we have a room for negotiating depending on the level of growth that the entrepreneur is, and even at the level that the risk that poses? So I think that's a very serious discussion that we need to take care of. Then the other thing I realized was capacity building. Entrepreneurs, I think the way their mentality is structured, I think they are structured to a growth aspect. They just need to, they have these strategic goals that they need to achieve. But now they are, we call them putting your house in order. So like they don't have a way to maybe pass across that knowledge, especially to the trickle down, in this case, the smallholder farmers. They just want their produce for processing or manufacturing, But now, how do we ensure that smallholder farmers do their farming the right way? What knowledge are we passing to these people? Because remember, smallholder farmers depend mostly on us, the ones that they bring their produce to. They think that you have all this knowledge on the know-how, what needs to be done, what needs to be improved on, and maybe you as an entrepreneur, you don't have as much knowledge as they think you have. So I think it's an avenue that we really need to delve into and to check on that. And then the other thing, as my colleagues here have just mentioned, is technical assistance. By technical assistance is, do we have someone within the management that is able to give us the right insights? How do we penetrate a certain market? How do we ensure that we are ESG compliant? How do we take care of all the values, all the core aspects that most of the regulators are looking for? Let's talk of even compliance with regulatories like KRA and all that. How many of our entrepreneurs will go to that extent to be compliant with all these regulatory indicators? So I must say that that's equally an avenue that we really need to help the entrepreneurs on, in terms of things like research and development and all that. How do they keep improving on their performance and in their execution? Because remember, competition is coming every other day. Let's not even assume the competition internally. There is external competition, international competition. How do we protect them and ensure that they scale up to that particular level? That's the space of technical assistance. How do we follow up, monitoring and evaluation? How do we keep up with them? Have a track record on where they were before they started the program, where they are 3 years on, where they will be 5 years, 10 years. Because remember, statistics are there, and indeed, they say that most businesses, they don't live to see their 5th anniversary. How do we ensure that these businesses go to perpetuity? Some of these businesses, they don't have a succession plan. We've seen even on the news, like big businesses back then, and when the vision carrier is no more, the business dies with them. So how do we ensure that even succession plan is taken care of? Then the other thing, of course, is having more around a long-term partnership other than a one-off thing. We need to indeed closely monitor the entrepreneurs that we are supporting. Just pop up to them, get to hear from them, get to see what thing they are doing, get to tell them what other things, new things that are developing in the market. And I think those are the avenues that can really help these entrepreneurs grow over and above the financial support. These are non-financial support that we need to accord to them. As I said, my name is Peter. I come from Motor Hope. We are an impact-first social enterprise. We work with smallholder farmers, off-takers, and cooperative societies in agricultural value chain. And I'm happy to have met the entrepreneurs that I met, and I'm glad that we're able to take this conversation to another level. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Peter. And to wrap up the feedback, we have Dennis from Yunus.
Good afternoon. My name is Dennis Ngure. I am investment manager at Yunus Social Business. If you've ever heard of Professor Muhammad Yunus, he is the founder of the fund. So we are an impact debt fund, meaning we invest in social businesses, and our product or our instrument is debt. It could be a term loan of between 2 to 4 years. It could also be a form of an overdraft, which after 1 year you pay, then you get another drawdown. I'm sure all of you here understand what social business is. Basically, where you are, your business, your main product, not CSR, but your main product has positive impact on the base of the pyramid. So that's what we consider as social business. So whether there is increase in income or there is access to products that would have otherwise not been accessible to those populations, and these populations must be the base of the pyramid, then your company would fit in terms of what a social business is. And for us, we also key in terms of base of the pyramid. For example, this housing program, we are calling it low-cost housing. For us, it's not. It's not base of the pyramid, basically because of the level. To us, that is more of medium. And so we are looking at people who are, and some of the groups we talk of smallholder farmers. So you look at smallholder farmers across the country in agriculture. Then we will look at, in waste sector, we have people like waste pickers, the ones we call chokoras. And if you look at people who are vulnerable, like refugees, people living in slums, then those are base of the pyramid. I am insisting on impact because it is usually our first lens. That is what we look at first before we look at anything else. So if there is no impact to the base of the pyramid, we would not go the second step. I think the other thing I want to mention about our fund is that we fund early growth stage companies. So these are companies, not startups, but they are getting to growth stage. So we call them early growth stage companies that are probably earning above $300,000 a year as annual revenues. And these are revenues not from grants, but the actual revenue from the product that you're dealing in. Those are the companies that we look at. Our ticket sizes are between $300,000 to $500,000. We can top it up to $750, and in both Kenya shilling and Ugandan shilling. For Kenya shilling and dollar. In Uganda, we only deal with dollar and Rwanda. We also in Rwanda, we are dealing in dollar as well. I guess that's the bit of introduction I could do for our fund. In terms of feedback, I think this is a very well organized program. Glad to see it's written there that we do not teach entrepreneurs, we train impact entrepreneurs, and so that comes in at the heart of what we do. One of the feedback from the companies I've met is what we usually look for is your story. We want to see, do you understand your business? Do you understand where you are and where you're going? So what are some of these things? For example, do you understand your current status? Definitely most of you will. You will know this is where I am. So what are your challenges that you're facing right now? After then you describe your challenges, we want to look at what opportunities are you seeing in your business. When you tell me the opportunity, then I will ask you, what is your growth strategy in the next 3 to 5 years? You will tell me that, and then I will ask you, so what is your funding ask? How much, and what is the use of that fund, those funds? Now, if there is no coherence in all those current situation, challenges, opportunities, growth strategy, if there is no coherence for something you have prepared, what about on the ground? There could be a lot of confusion. If you have prepared for a pitch and you can tell there is no coherence in all that story, or there is some mix-up in terms of you're telling me you want to fund a warehouse, but warehousing is not one of your problems right now, there are other priority problems, then there's a challenge. So those are one of the things we look at. I'm glad to say, feedback to the program, that from companies I've met, there was a lot of coherence in terms of where do you want to go, what challenges do you want to solve, so how much money do you want and where are you going to put that money? That was there. The other item is, I wanted to mention here is the kind of help, and this is to the program. This is important. I would want probably in the next stage, or in the next cohort, or in the next stage, I don't know whether this is it for these entrepreneurs or there'll be some follow-up programs with them. I have seen, and I will mention this company here because I have seen they have worked with two of our portfolio companies. It's called TechnoServe. You will see them announcing, go to the website and to LinkedIn, you will see them announcing for consultants. So they usually fund consultants. They have gone to a company, Angaza. They have seen Angaza needs to understand about their market mapping. That is the challenge they are facing. They will go into the market and advertise for a consultant, an expert, somebody who has done it before, whether in corporates or in startups, and they will bring this person as a form of technical support to help them solve that. By the time that person is leaving that company, that consultant, they not only have a paper written, but they have started implementing what that consultant has given as way forward. They have started implementing. That brings about a lot of change in the way entrepreneurs do. And entrepreneurs are facing challenges. We had an entrepreneur who had the machine, very expensive machine that they got, but they could not take their product to the market. Why? They were not efficient. Their product was expensive, but they had the machine. How do you solve that? You need somebody to go to the ground and work with them on a day-to-day basis for 6 to 12 months, working with them to solve that problem, that challenge. And so probably for the next, if you can be able to do that, I think that hands-on support is needed. I don't know, entrepreneurs, whether you support me, whether I'm saying what you are experiencing right now, but I think from an investor perspective and the portfolio we've gone through, that's one of the things I have seen. Efficiency is key to us. If you're not making any gross margin per product, however you grow, you will not be profitable. So efficiency is key. Those who are transforming, how much, I was talking to two avocado companies, how much do you get per a kilo of avocado for oil? If yours is less than the others, you will not be able to compete. So efficiency, again, is key. And we act for this data. Sometimes we know it's hard to measure it, but we will always go ask for that. The last thing I want to mention is, you people have prepared. I think I like the one-pager. Spot on, has all the information, initial information I need. I want to believe that there is much more to that. For example, you have a data room. You have a more detailed pitch deck. You have your audited financials ready. You have done a bit of financial analysis. When I come to due diligence, I would be asking you a number of questions. One is, how has revenue grown from each product? So if you have 6 products, I want to know what is the percentage of each product, percentage of revenue from each product. How many customers did you sell to? So if I find there was a drop, though there was an increase in revenue, but there was a drop in customers, what happened? If you have 6 customers and 3 of them left, why did they leave? So all these questions we will ask. So that analysis, I hope you have it or you have done it somewhere. We look at entrepreneurs and look at the kind of decisions they have made. And that's what we can only know from the analysis. So if the decisions they have made before to us, they look quality, we know that this entrepreneur can take this company to the next stage. So we will analyze to the detail, especially your historicals around revenue and customers. We will really analyze that. So it's important to, I hope that data room is there with full analysis and all the documents. The last thing I want to mention to the program is a few things here. By being an impact investor, we come in as, we go into risky businesses where some of the investors may not go to. If you can be able to, with your muscle, FAO, for Impact and the other partners, if you can be able to bring in funders who are bringing in about risk products like guarantees, that would be a game changer. Because it means that I'll be able to commit more money to some of the riskier businesses, and those businesses are going to be able to scale and grow. So that guarantee, I don't know how that can be brought in to bring in partners who are doing guarantees. That would be very helpful. And lastly, matching. So I saw today there was one-on-one. I don't know whether there was a pre-matching, as in somebody sat down there and said, Social Business will be given Kim Planters. I don't know whether that was the name of the company. Yes, Kim Planters. Based on what Yunus wants and based on where Kim Planters is. Again, that matching is important. So there was one company that had lower revenues than where we are. And so we said, they are a good fit in everything apart from revenues. We will work with them probably in a year or two. 2026 or 2027. Was it a good one-on-one? Yes, because now we would stay in touch. We will stay in contact with each other. However, probably it would be even more impactful if you bring like investor, business. So that would be my feedback to the entrepreneurs and also to the program.
Thank you so much, Dennis, and to all the investors who've given us feedback. I feel like it's been very, very instrumental, especially as we are about to start the program. So this goes to helping in designing the program. And what you're saying, Dennis, this is really at the beginning. So all these insights that you're putting helps to enrich and ensure that by the time we are saying we have potential entrepreneurs for you, then they're really aligned. It's, matching an apple with an apple. Just to summarize some of the things that you have said, and before I summarize, is there anyone who feels like for their business they were not covered by all these people or the conversations? There's an investor for all of us, right? Right? Yes? Did we have lunch? Okay. So do we feel we are represented? There's somebody we'd like to have a conversation, even if it's not now or established a relationship. Do we feel that we are represented? Good. So some of the things that have come out from this panel as we close is, Stephen said something very interesting. They're ready to finance all the people they met. But one thing, viability, all right? So how viable is your business? And one thing that also comes across is the importance of telling your story. What are you doing beyond just the profits? So speak about livelihoods, the importance of conservation. The other thing which I think is very, very important, especially as we start to roll out, is there a way that we can consolidate some of these enterprises that are doing something similar, so that we are looking at value chain as opposed to having very small micro businesses? I think that is a very powerful point to consider as we go forward. The commitment that we have, and I'm going to assume it's from everybody, to say we like to be investors, we want to be mentors, and we want to be there when we are offering technical assistance. I think we've taken note of this. The other thing I want to mention is what Dennis has wrapped up with. The coherence of what you're doing, what are the gaps, where do you want to go, and what's the roadmap to get there, so that somebody can see where you've come from and where you're going. I think it's very important to tell that story, because sometimes we are really thinking futuristic and we forget that we have roots. Okay, so that was very, very important, and thank you very much. And I think we also want to appreciate all the team that was behind the organization of this. I think we've gotten comments, you did a good job, so thank you very much. And as we wind up, kindly let us give a round of applause to our investors, and we look forward to having you again.
Another round of applause, please. And also to our moderator and a good moderated session. I think it has given us very good feedback and great takeaways. And everyone felt that their viewpoints were considered from the sample investors that actually just shared their feedback. So thank you very much. The investors who are there. Probably not all of you have had a chance to give that feedback verbally here. We know you have feedback forms. We've also collected those. And we will collate everything, because as one of the investors was asking, what next after today? So there is really a lot that is coming up. And it's not the end for also the same investor who asked. We're just at the beginning. So really, if 2-3 years, we hope we will be speaking a totally different story. So thanks for that. And now we have the last panel of the day. And this is a bit much more, I wouldn't say less or more interesting than the previous one, because it was also interesting. But in this panel, the difference is that we will also hear from the entrepreneurs themselves. How do they feel about the session? What kind of feedback do they also have for the investors? Because we said we wanted to have a conversation that is balanced, not a top-down or bottom-up, but a balanced conversation. So at this point then, I'm calling on our moderator, Dr. Bernadette Mutinda, to take the floor. And we have from Terra Fund, Karaya Karugu. That's you, right? No, sorry. Okay. Then, do we have someone from Absa Bank? What's the name? No? Okay. Then John Irungu from TMA. So this is the association of the timber association. So in this point, I think you will be speaking with a broader context. And then Nancy Liani from Western Tree Growers, Rural Sacco. Miswale Zingizi from Kaya Nuts. So the cashew value chain. Who else do we have? And then Makamayo from Kenya Climate Ventures. So check the...
Good afternoon. You're well? Do we want to stretch a little bit? Yes, I think we've been sitting for long. Just maybe for 1 minute, just to stretch. I will not give directions on how to stretch. Just stretch how you feel you need to. Yeah, if you want to do the coconut, by all means. Yeah. Okay, I think we are good to go. Please have your seats. So, welcome to our panel discussion today. And after listening to what we've heard from the previous panel, I think we have a lot to build on. So today we are discussing the topic of unlocking funding for restorative enterprises. And therein we are looking at the opportunities, challenges, and needs. And maybe just to lay the ground for the discussion, let me just make a few remarks, just to paint a picture of where we are at. So we all know that restorative enterprises play a critical role, especially in Kenya, where our forest cover is really low, in rebuilding degraded ecosystems, creating sustainable livelihoods, and promoting long-term climate resilience. So the businesses that we are talking about operate at the intersection of environmental impact and economic development, whether through tree planting, sustainable forestry, regenerative agriculture, or nature-based value chains. So, just looking at it from the global perspective, the financing gap for land restoration stands at over 300 billion USD annually, according to the United Nations Convention to combat desertification, that is UNCCD. Yet, less than 3% of global climate finance is directed toward nature-based solutions despite their proven ability to combat climate change, create jobs, and restore vital ecosystems. The picture is not very different in Kenya. We know that the country, through the National Forestry Policy, aims to increase forest cover to 30% by 2032, with a near-term target of 15 billion trees planted by 2032. Despite these bold ambitions, access to finance remains a critical bottleneck for enterprises in the sector, especially for community-led and smallholder-linked enterprises operating in value chains such as forestry, apiculture, among others. So according to a study that was done by FAO, many SMEs in Kenya, especially in Kenya's restoration economy, are trapped in what we call the missing middle. They are too large, they're either too large for microfinance, but too risky or informal for commercial banks. So most of them then struggle with low collateral, limited financial records, and minimal exposure to structured investment opportunities. And I think that was brought out earlier in the recap. So according to the World Resources Institute, WRI estimates that investing in restoration-focused enterprises in Africa can yield up to $9 of economic return for every $1 invested. Here in Kenya, we know that the government has identified green growth as a key pillar of the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, emphasizing the role of nature-based enterprises in driving rural employment and climate resilience. So, having laid that foundation, our discussion today is really about what it takes to unlock scalable investment in enterprises that are not only profitable but regenerating Kenya's landscapes and livelihoods. So that said, I will turn to the rich panel that we have here. And so I will turn to each panelist. I will start with the entrepreneurs, and I will ask Ms. Swale Zingizi of Kaya Nuts, who is the founder. She's actually the founder of Kaya Nuts, to tell us briefly just about who Kaya Nuts is, and within a minute, and then you can pass it over to Nancy Liani from Western Tree Growers Sacco to briefly also tell us what you do within your organization. And then we shall go to John Irongo, who is representing Timber Manufacturers Association, just within a minute.
So, hi, my name is Ms. Swale Zingizi, founder of Kaya Nuts. So at Kaya Nuts, we work in the cashew nuts value chain. We create cashew snacks, and we also have an initiative that is advocating for cashew growing in coastal Kenya, which we call them Korosho Initiative. Thank you.
Hi all, my name is Nancy Liani from Western Tree Growers Sacco. I'll start by just explaining where Western Rural Sacco does. So Western Tree Growers Sacco is a member-based on cooperative based in Webuye with a membership of 219. Our main activities or main services that we offer to our members are agroforestry financial services and also support in terms of capacity building, those cluster members, small-scale farmers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Irongo, representing TMA, Timber Manufacturers Association. I think TMA probably is the oldest institution represented here because I think it was established in 1981. Most of us here know probably were not yet born, like myself, but here we are. I think back then they had a great vision of how dynamics would be like when we are talking about nature. Only that then their main objective was to control or regulate timber pricing. But now the new structure of TMA is looking at sustainable forest management practices. We have 250 members registered by TMA, but in total the practitioners in wood or Tiba Valley, we have 1,300 members registered by KFS. So our vision as TME is to plant 45 million trees by 2032, aligning to the clarion call by the President of 15 billion trees. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. So I'll go now to our investors, and I will start. I will ask Karaya Karogo to briefly talk about Terra Fund, followed by Mark Ameo will talk about KCV.
Okay. Hi everyone. First and foremost, thanks a lot to the team for the invitation. It's always good, to be part of these gatherings and further the work in this restoration space. So Karaya Karogo is my name. Working with WRI as enterprise manager, mainly in the financing end. We've got a program called Terra Fund, and maybe just to give a quick intro to it. Terra Fund is it's a patient capital fund that finances tree-based restoration. I think based on even some of the discussions that were had and presentations that were made earlier on, I think it's known that there's a big challenge, especially to secure financing in the restoration space. So, Terra Fund is a patient capital fund that's meant to be concessional, financing this tree-based restoration. This started off, maybe going back a bit. Initially, we started off with the capacity building initiatives back in 2018. But after a couple of years, it was realized that, the reality is that financing is a big gap. So Terra Fund was established. Back then, the scope was, this is like late 2021, scope was the AFR 100 countries, the 34. So we did our initial funding round with that scope. But like in 2023, we realized, to be more strategic, we also need to focus on some flagship landscapes, of which, as of right now, we are focusing on the Greater Rift Valley here in Kenya. We also have the Lake Kivu and Rusizi River Basin, which covers Eastern DRC, Burundi, and Rwanda. And then we also have the Ghana Cocoa Belt. So ultimately, what it is that we do is we disburse both grants, grants, debt, and equity. Ticket sizes range from 50,000 to 500,000 USD. And I would say mainly our ethos is just trying to see what is it that we can do to be as concessional and catalytic that we can be in this space. I liked something that I had one of the presenters say earlier, that capital needs to be courageous. So we try, our best, to follow in those footsteps. And just quickly, in terms of our terms, we don't ask for collateral. We fund both the non-profits and the for-profits. Typically, it's the non-profits that get the grants, and the for-profits get both the debt and equity. They make their choice there. The terms run, it's like interest rates. We give the option, like here in Kenya, whether you want it in USD or whether you want it in local currency. If it's a USD, for example, debt, you'll get that at 8%. If it's in local currency, you get that at 12%. For equity, we'll compute that with you. Just the reason we introduced the equity option is because we recognize that tree-based restoration takes quite a long time before you get those returns. So we felt it's something that would be beneficial, for the enterprises that are in this space. So I think maybe I can start there and add as we proceed.
Right. Thank you so much. It's truly an honor being part of this panel, and I can tell that we have most of, if not all of the ecosystem players represented in this room. So my name is Mark Ameo. I come from Kenya Climate Ventures. And Kenya Climate Ventures, we are a gender inclusive and climate impact investor, providing both patient concessional capital, blending it with technical assistance support to enterprises in Kenya. We are sector specific. We invest in sectors of waste and circularity, water, commercial forestry, renewable energy, and agribusiness. And we have been around now, this is our 9th year, made about 23 investments with 4 exits, put in close to $5 million into the Kenyan market, and we are now looking at regional expansion. And essentially our ticket sizes start from $50,000 to $500,000 for an early stage company, and $100,000 to $2.5 million for a growth stage company. Considering we pride ourselves as being impact investors, means that our interest rates are predominantly lower than the traditional banks. No offense to my colleagues from the banks in this room. What I do at Kenya Climate Ventures, essentially, I'm involved in 3 functions. One, I'm in portfolio management, so I do manage directly a group of enterprises, but I also coordinate technical assistance support. And for the enterprises that I was reviewing, or rather evaluating this morning, I believe they have heard me mention about technical assistance most of the time. But over and above that, and which is also quite critical also for this ecosystem, is that I manage a KCV exclusive online investment attraction platform called InvestLink that catalyzes access to to financing for green enterprises by connecting them directly to other investors in the Kenyan ecosystem. So with that, I think I can leave it at that, and then the other points will follow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mark. Now, having heard from the investors, I will go straight to Kaya Nuts. And just within 2 minutes so that we can make, maximum use of the time that we have. Please tell us what has been your experience in fundraising. And now that you've heard, we have investors here who have patient capital. Yeah, so please tell us what has been your reality in terms of fundraising. Yeah.
I like that it has come to me first, because I always have issues when the investors beautify what they fund versus the reality on the ground. Because they package it so well. They package it so well that when they speak here, you feel like, today I'll go with the money. But I feel like the experience has been very tough, because when you are a startup, especially when you start, you have an idea, you have this grand idea that you want to bring into the market. In a market, for example, I'll talk about myself. So when I saw the opportunity in cashew nuts, of course there are big brands like Kenya Nuts that have taken over macadamia, cashews, they have farms, they have everything. You are here, you are starting. You've started with your 5 kilos of cashews. You are selling in a container. You don't have branding. Then you realize you have to work with farmers, because that's where you get your... Then all of a sudden, boom, E4 Impact has incubated you. E4 Impact tells you, now you need to be investor ready. Questions start coming in. How many farmers are you impacting? You get stuck. Because initially, that was not my business. I was not actually looking at those numbers. I was actually doing something with a purpose. So now here you are. When you come to the E4 Impact has incubated you, then now you come to these big men. And they start asking you so many hard questions. So many hard questions that you start asking yourself. They need to believe in the vision. They need to believe that you are a startup. What happens to that? When you believe that I'm dreaming, you need to come to me and say, what technical, and I think maybe I've jumped the question, but I think we need to start from there. The funders need to work very well with the incubators to be able to know where businesses are at, what technical support they need to go to become investor ready. I think that to me is the missing link.
Thank you. Have you fundraised?
Yes.
How has it been?
Apart from grants, these people who talk about loans, Where are the banks? I have beef with banks in this country because banks want to go back to get you in CRB. Yes, I was in CRB for heaven's sake, for example, right? I started a business, right? I was in CRB 8 years ago. What does that have to do with my business? Because you just want to say you are risky. Risky means you are in CRB, you got cleared. The other thing, you are risky because we see you were banking with us, then you left. Small things that actually, when you look at my traction, I have revenue. They might not be consistent because remember, I'm also building up. Maybe I might not be compliant ready. For example, if you come to me, you want me to sell everything, for example, with taxes. As a small business, maybe I'm at that point where as a bank you can come in and say, what we see you need is maybe this and that. So we fund you from where you are. But when you go to the bank, even getting 500,000 shillings, and the entrepreneurs here will tell you, you have an LPO. They tell you we need to do 20% LPO financing. The margins I don't have. I don't have those margins. Remember, I'm the CEO, I'm the graphic designer, I am the cook, I am everything. Then now you want to tell me you want to take 20% of that as LPO fine. How do we survive? So the banks, for me, have been a big headache. Maybe I've not gone into equity funding, but what has supported like someone like me is the belief of people who are funding impact. They believe in the dream of funding an impact, and grants have really propelled our growth to where we are to become profitable.
Thank you, Ms. Wale. We shall revisit that. I will quickly go to, and in no particular order. Let me go to to John, who is representing many enterprises within the Timber Manufacturers Association. Now, just within 2 minutes, and I think Ms. Wale has already alluded to some of the challenges. What specific challenges has the association or its members faced when engaging, financing institutions, let's say banks, investors, especially when it comes to demonstrating sustainability? Or let me just leave it at that, sustainability, considering that you're in a very unique value chain, not what the conventional, not what the banks, fund every other day. Yeah.
Thank you. I would like first to echo the sentiments what she has just mentioned about the bank. And I know because some of the members that I represent here are here, I saw them nodding, because those are some of the challenges that they have experienced with the bank. It's not easy accessing loan financing, especially the high interest rates. But having gone through a journey, especially when with the E for Impact, I was part of their accelerator program, wearing a different hat. I know it's a journey that takes time. You have to be patient. But what I would like to confirm is that working directly with the bank, and especially the sector that we are in, there are some of the challenges that we go through. One is perception. The bank will perceive like if you are in timber industry, you are destroying forests. And actually that's what almost everyone perceives as the main activities of timber manufacturers, not realizing the fact that we are in the commercial forestry. We have two different of trees. We have exotic, we have indigenous. For us, we are in the exotic space, whereby these tree, once it matures, maybe 28, 30 years, it requires to be harvested, failure to which it will develop what we call heart rot, eventually fall, decompose, releasing green gases or methane. But if we harvest this tree, allow space for planting new trees, it will enhance the sinking of carbon and so on. Again, each and every person here, if you go to their homestead, chances are you'll find there is a wood products, and maybe even high quality, probably even imported from China or elsewhere. Yet we have to be in this space, and we have to support and understand how it works. Banks will look at these entrepreneurs and feel like, what happens if we fund this entrepreneur? Then tomorrow there's a moratorium. The government shuts the forest activities, and we have loaned this person, how are they going to service this loan? So it becomes a challenge for entrepreneurs. For example, in 2018, the moratorium was put in place. About 44,000 jobs were lost. Actually, this industry employs, I think, more than 100,000 directly and many more indirect. So there is a great impact along the entire value chain, from the community forest association who participate in tree planting, those who participate in tree growing, thinning, pruning, and what have you, and then the timber players who participate in now processing these into wood products. So I think there is a need for banks and other institutions to understand the sector and come up with customized products for each and every aspects of this timber value chain. Like for our members, they are in different, I think, activities. There are those who are in circular economy, converting the waste process from or byproducts of wood timber processing, like sawdust, into briquettes. We are now moving toward climate smart agriculture, where we are converting sawdust to things like biochar for soil amendment. So we are critical players in this field, in this sector. If you look at the private outgrowers like farmers, they grow trees and we need to offtake this. So banks need to understand, but having worked with different investors, I can tell you today I'm happy, and the team is happy because from the presentation by investors, we know our members' needs are addressed, because there are different needs depending on the stage that some of our members are at the moment. Because the ranges from the smallest, whereby during the presentation here by investors, they fit there. There are some who are at the medium category, and there are some who are in the large category. So we have a solution here. It's just aligning ourselves and also requesting financial institution to understand the business. Yep.
Thank you, John. Quickly, before we turn to the investors to respond to the challenges and the issues that are coming from the floor, I will quickly ask Nancy Liani, who is representing Western Tree Growers Association. You are a member-based organization. You mentioned you have 200 plus members. Now that we've spoken about the challenges, maybe you can highlight the funding needs of your members. What are the kind of needs that your members have to be able to grow their businesses? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. First, I just want to appreciate E for Impact and the FA of the support. For the Sacco, like Western Tree Growers Sacco, to which at this point, it is their support. I just want to mention that it's a growing Sacco. It's at the first early stage. And we still have some difficulties and challenges that we're still struggling with as a Sacco. Given that it's a community-rooted Sacco, and it's a very unique Sacco. It's an agroforestry Sacco that support farmers doing agroforestry, farm forest, and sustainable harvesting. Tree harvesting, and also climate change and adaptation mitigation measure that we also capacity build our members. There are so many challenges that our members face first in terms of finance, and that's why now the Sacco came in just to support these agroforestry farmers. Because first you realize that for a farmer to go to the bank and access finances was very difficult. First, the bank will require a collateral. And now that we are focusing on women empowerment, the youth, you realize most women and young men don't have title deeds. And given that most of them are not even in business, whereby they can given the business permits, they rely on farming and tree planting, nursery establishment, where they don't have any certificate. They are not certified. So at that point, you realize that for them to access the financial services from the formal institutions or financial institutions like banks, actually it was a challenge. So the support that actually these people need is now what the Sacco is offering. We give them financial services, and for us, now we even ease in for them, because now we are offering collateral in terms of trees. For example, I've given a story that there's an old man who had trees, woodlots, but he's living in poverty. He doesn't even realize that those trees can assist him or help me improve his livelihoods. So from that, now as a Sacco, we engage in clusters. We recruit at cluster level. So they guarantee each other and they can offer the agroforestry, products as collateral for the financial support. And again, what they also like, what they really need is capacity building, technical support. Most of these people don't understand anything. I can say for the period that I've been here in E for Impact, I've realized there's so many gaps that are there among our members. So they really need that capacity building on technical support, that financial support, financial literacy, and how to invest, how they can break even, because there are those who are doing business, but they're not even sure they're making profit or not. They're just doing business. And that's why now the Sacco is coming in at the grassroots, at the cluster level. We take them through those trainings, we capacity them on financial literacy and all that. And I think that's the support we are giving them. That's exactly what they need. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now I will quickly move to the investors we have on the panel, just to tie what we've heard from the entrepreneurs and what you offer. It's a very interesting thing that both Terra Fund and Climate Ventures, Kenya KCV, you have a better understanding of the kind of enterprises that we have here, more than other, funders. You understand the sector and so on. So now hearing what the entrepreneurs have to say, you've heard what Ms. Wale has said. She's hearing about patient capital. She's wondering, where is this patient capital? And she's explaining the kind of challenges that she's had. Now, starting with you, Karogo, how can we meet? Where do we meet? Where does the entrepreneur and Terra Fund meet? Because she says, just going with the example of Ms. Wale, hers is a very young enterprise. When she started, very young, and when she approaches investors, there is this long list that she must, produce, yet she doesn't have that long list. How can we work with entrepreneurs like Ms. Wale, like the entrepreneurs supported by these two associations, so that they don't have to close?
Yeah, thanks for that. And I think I'll start by saying, first and foremost, that's the importance of such gatherings, right? I think they are very, very important in bringing or bridging the two sides together. I think what has been shared is definitely valid. We do recognize, and that's why I said even for Terra Fund, that's the reason we exist. We do recognize that it's a tough sector, to be able to secure those finances. So maybe what I would start by saying also is, I think an important thing also to recognize is, similarly I think there's different sources of capital and financing. So I think first thing I would say is, yes, we know obviously, there's the terms that exist with like the commercial banks. But I think for me it's also important to note that, yes, that is the commercial banks, but there's also other financiers like ourselves, for example, who really try hard to, recognize this is the challenge that exists when it comes to commercial banks. Like I mentioned, or you mentioned, that there's the aspect of collateral. So, as Terra Fund, we see, since this is a big blocker, one of the things that we're going to do is we're not really going to ask for any collateral. And then, when it comes to the terms, we allow up to 5-year repayment. We also allow up to 12 months of interest-only payments before principal comes in. And I guess I'm sharing that also just to point out that there's also some effort that's being made to try differentiate from what is existing and prevalent in the market, on the end of the commercial banks. I think another important thing I would like to state is that it's also good to understand that in reality, even for custodians of capital like ourselves, we also do secure this funding from elsewhere, right? And because of that, it's not that we just decide that we're going to come up with these conditions and going to ask all these tough questions, because ultimately when you've succeeded in securing funds from another financier, you also have a responsibility of ensuring that these funds are used in a proper way. So I think I would just like to also point out that especially like for us who seek to be concessional, the fact that we still do have these requirements is due to the fact that we need to be responsible with these funds. And I think, also to recognize in terms of opportunities, it's not just about the financing, but also the capacity that has been mentioned. One of the things that we do at TerraFund, which is the financing wing, we interplay and collaborate closely with the technical or capacity building side of things, and we've got Sam here who leads our capacity work. Because we've also recognized that, we don't look at it just by one and it's either or option, right? And we see some of the entrepreneurs in the room here. We have funded people here in this room who, went through that capacity building program that we had, which was called the Land Accelerator, which now gives us that confidence, to now make that investment. So I would say also, the capacity angle is still part of the equation for financing. So also being able to take advantage of those opportunities that exist, even though they may not be seen as money right there upfront, they do lead to that pipeline. And a lot of for example, right now at TerraFund, we've made 192 investments across the continent. And that's, a lot of those have gone through that capacity building program. So I think for me, mainly it's just to state that, yes, we do understand that it is a challenge, but also I would also urge that you also recognize some of the efforts being made by some of us who are trying to be concessional to separate ourselves from what it is that you face a lot, and to understand that when these requirements exist, it's not just for the sake of it, it's for that aspect of being responsible. And I think maybe I'll also just conclude by saying, it's also through such gatherings that we also have these conversations and be able to, pursue and see, okay, where is this, what's the blockage, what's the challenge here. One of the other things that we do as TerraFund, because I mentioned our ticket size is between 50,000 to 500,000, we recognize there are those who are below that. So one of the things we're also trying to do is to encourage applications in consortium, so that people are not left behind. So I think mainly for me, I would say it's important to keep the conversation going, to understand where we are also coming from when we have some of these requirements, and make it more of a constructive dialogue going forward, and take time, especially through these capacity building programs, to understand, because I usually say a big gap that I see when we are vetting a lot of applications for funding is understand the requirements or what the objectives are of this particular fund, and build your capacity towards that. Don't expect that someone will fund you just because of what it is that you're saying. You also need to align to what it is that particular fund is seeking to achieve. So I think that's what I'd say for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I will quickly go to Mark. And Mark, maybe just within a minute, you can contribute to what he has said. But quickly, you can also tell us, from KCV and maybe other actors like yourselves within the sector, what opportunities are there, for entrepreneurs working within restoration and nature-based solutions, to tap into? Because I like what he has said, that such forums give us the opportunity to understand each other more. Yeah, so maybe there are opportunities that are there that entrepreneurs do not know about. Maybe you can highlight on that as well.
All right. Thank you so much. First and foremost, if I knew I was going to get in trouble by saying patient concessional capital, I would have possibly used a better word. But just to respond to what my fellow panelists has mentioned, it is indeed true. Companies in the sector are finding it very difficult to engage with finance actors. But I would like to echo one thing: investors are sitting together, we can defend each other. So essentially, different finance actors. Other different, the finance sector is filled with commercial banks. You have impact funders, you have grant providers, you have ESOs nowadays that are now coming into funding by themselves as well. So it depends on who you are dealing with. That's what I'll tell the entrepreneur. It depends on who you are dealing with. Who do you go to for funding? Because you can either go to a bank, you can go to a climate impact investor, or you can go to the 3 Fs. I believe you know the 3 Fs, right? Yeah, so whoever you are going to will have different eligibility criteria. As maybe entrepreneur support organizations know, when an investor says you are investor ready, depends on their own investment eligibility criteria, not the market. So each investor will have their own eligibility criteria. Now, just to give a bit more context as to why I meant patient. The reason I meant patient is because of 10 years. Traditionally in commercial banks, most of the financing you'll get not more than 5 years. But in climate impact investments, then you get 10 years that are beyond 5 years. For KCV, for instance, we go all the way to 7 years as 10 years. And what I mean by concessional means it is below the predominant interest rate in the market. So for right now, I don't know if it's 20 or what percent. 20%, right? So for KCV's perspective, it will be 4 or 5 digits below that. And it's also based on our interaction and the impact that this company is coming to essentially progress in the market. Because for us, we look at an intersection of both commercial viability and impact. And so just to also add on to what my fellow colleague in the investment space has mentioned, is that what we are having is a blended financing mechanism. In this market, if you're only going to provide them with financing, and as she mentioned, how do you work with us? How do you handhold us? How do you ensure we get there? So most impact investors actually blend their financing with technical assistance support. Identify from the onset, even before the investment, what we usually call pre-investment technical assistance. We identify what are your capacity gaps. We deploy consultants into your business to help you solve those capacity gaps. And we continue to provide that even towards investments and even post-investments before we exit the board. That is for the instance of KCV. Over and above that as well, the opportunities that we are seeing, there is a lot of interest in terms of funding for this space. And whenever there is funding, investors will always flock there. So investors are already starting to see interest in the space because there's a lot of interest from the DFIs, the development finance institutions, into kind of how do we eradicate climate change? What do you do in terms of eradicating climate change? Where can we act? Can we act in restoration enterprises? Definitely, but what do? We need a vehicle, and what they normally do is they fund investors to fund enterprises in that space. So I'm seeing there's a lot of movement and investment flowing into the space. I'm also seeing a lot of entrepreneur support organizations starting to deploy early stage capital. This is something that was not there before. You're seeing ESOs coming in and deploying more, let me call it more patient capital than even impact funders. Though lower ticket sizes, but they normally deploy it in what is called a returnable grant or a matching fund. Essentially, you match your funding with a particular percentage, then you get financing. And I'm also seeing opportunities in terms of essentially getting more technical assistance support. We are seeing more providers becoming a bit more specialized. Kenya right now, the policies are, I was having a webinar last week with KRA, with our portfolio companies, and they're saying they're looking at how do they better make the policies in the green space a bit lenient for enterprises. So I'm seeing there's a lot of opportunities cutting across from funding to policy to taxation issues all the way to capacity building support. So I wouldn't say this is a space that will not get attention. This is a space that will continue to get attention even more than it's actually getting right now, and it's a good thing. Thank you so much.
Yes, so now we are almost out of time, but we have to meet somewhere. I think now we have a better understanding of each other. Yeah, the investors and the entrepreneurs, we are getting somewhere. We have to meet somewhere. So just as we wind up, I will go to the entrepreneur, starting with Ms. Swale. Now that you've heard, from the investors, their side, their view on what investment looks like, that they will not just fund because you have this good vision. There must be some, requirements that are met. Investor readiness will look different from one investor to the other. And I think what is also coming out is that for different levels of enterprise, you will also find different investors who are willing to listen to the entrepreneurs. So, just in closing, what kind of products would you like to see coming out from the investment side that would align to your needs, but at the same time are also aligning to what the investors would want, so that we have a middle ground that serves everyone's interest?
I think blended finance works because, one, we are running social enterprises. One, for me, I'm making money through the business that we are doing of selling the products that we do. So there, I don't intend people to come in and continue supporting you with a grant forever. No. But we are saying we need like concessional loans, just understanding where someone is and what can be done. And I think people like KCV and TerraFund, I believe maybe you are flexible, but you are just a few, if we can say. However, when it comes now to the social impact that we are creating, our farmers actually live hand to mouth. So as a business, I find myself being drained by me supporting the farmers. Because remember, when I go to the farmers, I have to buy cash. When I sell on credit. The farmers that we are dealing with smallholder farmers. But as the business grows, the farmers have to grow. So these farmers still require some technical support, some capacity building in terms of just maybe scaling from their small scale to becoming maybe commercial farmers or something like that. Because what I don't like is that we keep using smallholder farmers forever. And everybody keeps saying smallholder farmers. That is okay. But then what does it take for us to grow with these farmers to become commercial farmers? Because today, maybe you find a smallholder farmer maybe getting 5,000 or 10,000 Kenya shillings. As a business, I want to work with a farmer I know from 10,000 shillings. This farmer 5 years ago was getting 10,000 shillings, but I want this farmer to now start making 100,000 shillings. It's not just about my company growing, but I'm saying this has to trickle down to the farmer. So I think that is something that we need to keep doing that. For the people who are running social enterprises, we need a lot of support. From where we source our raw materials, in terms of how we restore the environment. Remember, for example, like us, when we go down to the community, people are hungry. So what they are doing, our people are cutting down trees because someone has come in to say, I will give you 300 shillings. So you have 5 trees. How much is that? 1,500 shillings. A child has been sent home for school fees. So they decide, this cashew tree, it's okay, I can get my 1,500. But they are forgetting the long-term benefits of this tree. So I think we really need a lot of support in capacity building.
Thank you. Nancy, as we close, because we are running out of time, given that you deal directly with smallholder tree growers, given that you deal directly with your members who are involved in tree planting and so on, the kind of products that you have had from Terra Fund and from KCV, what do you think can be done further, to help your farmers by the investors? Can they customize the products more, or what do you think can be done for your members as we go on?
Okay, thank you so much. First, I just want to mention that before any other support, knowledge is power. So, as I mentioned, our members lack that knowledge in terms of investment, in terms of how they can upscale what they are doing. So that's very key in terms of just upscaling or whatever they are doing for their profit. Then secondly, most of these members who are our farmers, yes, they might have land, they might have these natural resources, but they don't have the capital to do anything. Being an early stage Sacco, we are really struggling how to support all of them, which is not easy on our side. So we realize that when you get support from, let's say, like Terra Fund, they come and support as a Sacco, because we do collective bulking, we do collective, like when we have a timber yard, we can still support these farmers market their product. But now that capital aspect of it is now a challenge on our side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We go to John. John, I know that you have quite a large number of members behind you, and you've had the chance to interact with the investors as well in the morning, because the earlier entrepreneurs have mentioned the kind of products that they'd like to see for their members. Maybe in just a minute you can still mention the products, whether the products in the market are serving the needs or whether there's need to further tweak. But what was your experience in the morning?
My experience, maybe interacting with investors, different investors, and also from what they have said here during their presentation. I think for our members, due to different levels or stages, there are some who are investor ready. There are some who will just walk into a commercial bank and maybe obtain support, facility support without much hassle. But we also have the medium category. And based on the type of support they need or facility they need, based on the investment, especially for the technology, and based on the past history, like the moratorium and what so on, they need to move from the old system of the old version of technology to the modern, which are more efficient and what have you. But the financial institutions are not understanding. They don't trust this sector. So I think some of the products that could be considered, let the leaders or these funders probably discuss. I would suggest probably it would be important because we have diverse members and there are so many of them. If we could have special forums for TME members so that they can have also interaction. They can ask these questions. They can express their issues with investors. It's also good for the investors seated here to also listen to our members. So if we could have also like what I think MESPT presented, can we have even FAD guarantees so that our members, the risk is reduced and maybe they are supported in terms of ensuring the security because they do not have these collateral. So I think some of the products that have been mentioned here, they cut across our members and favor them in different ways. But there are some who are not favored by those terms. So it's good to analyze the categories, the stages, impact, the sector, and that's why I said it's good because our activities are diverse. There are those in circular economy. I've heard the KCV mention that their ticket size is between, I think, $50,000 to 2.5 million. We have our category who fits perfectly there. Terra Fund, we had a discussion this morning. Their ticket size is between also 50 to 500,000 USD. We also have category. even the other people who have presented, we also fit there. So I think it's good to have a forum because we may not see that because of your ticket size, our members do not, maybe they don't fit there. Because of the rates, because I think for different ticket size, there are also different rates. So it's good to continue this conversation. And I thank FAO and IFO Impact for organizing this. Also for capacity building, the levels of operation for these institutions is different across the board. So there is a lot to be done, preparing these enterprises and also bridging the gap between lenders and the enterprises. So we need your support and we need investors to come on board and support these enterprises. And opportunities are unlimited. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We'll quickly go to Karogo, Terra Fund, as we close. You have now interacted with the entrepreneurs that during the morning and now during this panel. We've already discussed the issues around what you would require as Terra Fund to be able to fund the entrepreneurs. Just as you close, from what you've heard here from our entrepreneurs, what would be your advice as they go back? What would be your advice for our entrepreneurs so that they can be able to access more funding?
Okay, yeah, thanks for that. I think I can answer in a two-pronged way. So I would say both on the entrepreneurs and also looking at ourselves as the investor side. So I would say for, when it comes to the entrepreneurs, it's more of, like I shared earlier, understanding, whether there's alignment in terms with the particular fund that you're, seeking to secure financing from, because the reality is we've got lots of opportunities, as was mentioned earlier, for securing financing, but you will not have good chances of securing that if it's misaligned, because there are those who are targeting the early stage, there are those who are targeting the growth, and so on and so forth. So I think a key thing is to make sure, that you align. I think another thing I would say is make sure whatever opportunities you see, for this capacity building, to take advantage of them, because you see a lot of that focus is on investor readiness. Because I like to say sometimes you need to help us to help you, right? And the way you help us help you is, for example, you can have a good business, but if you're asking for, like what are some of your records and you don't have the records, if you say that you've got X number of farmers and you don't have any record of that, it's difficult even for us if we would like to support you. So I would say help us to help you by, getting these records and implementing some of the things that you learn in this, in the different programs that you go through. I think a third one, which is also very important, is to continue sharing openly as you are. I know, like a month ago, one of our partners based in the US came and we had meetings, with some of our investees here in Kenya, and they were very eye-opening, just to get feedback and see, because sometimes, like you said, sometimes we can sit here thinking that we are doing the best that we can, we are super catalytic and so on and so forth. But it is when we are talking with you that we realize, no, actually the Sacco, my Sacco has better interest rates than you, or something of the sort, because that also challenges us and makes us see what it is that we can do different. Now, with the other heart of the investors on our end, I would say, I think just to keep having that growth or learning mindset, I think that's something I find quite exciting about Terra Fund, is that we are not static. We learn as we go. So, when we started, we didn't have the equity option, because we didn't think about it. But with time, when we saw the need, we were like, okay, let's introduce this for some of the long-term investments. I think something else is when we started, we only offered this loans in USD. But again, we realized, especially after seeing the issue of the currency depreciation, we were like, okay, let's introduce a local currency option so that we give people that option. I think something also for us is just encouraging, the investment community to also work together. Yes, as Terra Fund, we do have the capital to be able to make investments, but what we've seen is in instances where we make investments in a company, in a matter of months, this same company will come back to you, asking for additional money for working capital or something of the sort. And the burden can't be all on us, to keep making that investment. So we are actively also trying to form coalitions or partnerships with other investors so that we can pursue even co-investment. I know last year there's one company that needed, about 800,000 USD, and in their instance, one of the financiers that they approached was not comfortable extending to them the entirety of those funds. They were comfortable giving 50%, and so they approached us, and we were willing to come in and put in that other 400,000. And so you see, we made something work that wouldn't have worked. So that's just to say that we need to also collaborate. We typically have a lot of our own unique due diligence processes and so on and so forth. But I think for the investment community, it's important for us to work together. And I think the last one is just to state, again, in the interest of iterating and learning, we are also exploring that aspect of the guarantee, first loss. Recently we did have a financier that wanted to make an investment in a particular company. The challenge is that financier only makes their loans in hard currency, which the business did not want. They wanted local currency. So we were called in to, give some form of loss, currency devaluation loss for these financiers to make it happen. So those are the kind of collaborations I think for us on the financing side need to embrace. It's not something that we can walk this journey alone. So there's what needs to be done on the entrepreneur end, but there's also what we need to do on the financing end to make things work better.
Thank you so much. As we close, to you, Mark Ameo, and it's a good thing that you mentioned patient capital. It's a very good thing. Yeah. So as we close, I know we've had quite a number of, recommendations coming from the floor, but from your end, just one practical step that could unlock more finance for restoration-linked enterprises in Kenya, and maybe a few recommendations that you would make maybe to policymakers and donors as we close.
Right. Thank you so much for that. I think I'll close by giving 4 recommendations, and these 4 recommendations are actually going to the 4 ecosystem players in this space. The first recommendation will be to the DFIs. Investors, sometimes we do not invest because we don't have money. Entrepreneurs also cry they don't have money, but also us, sometimes we also don't have money. So when you come to us, we don't know what to tell you. So also understand us as much as we are understanding you today. So to the DFIs, money will always flow where money is found. So when DFIs deploy more financing into this space, don't worry about investors. Investors will always follow where the money is, and they will change even their thesis to align to the sectors that the DFIs are saying you need to invest here. So DFIs deploy more capital, guarantee investors, and investors are more than willing to do it. The second ecosystem player, to the investors, please, my fellow investors, consider refinancing. Right? It's not enough to provide that early stage financing for this company. Before they reach to the second level of stage, they need additional financing. So always consider refinancing and deploying more capital. And then the second time, even make it larger capital and more patient, so that these entrepreneurs can be able to move from one stage of their business level to another. To the ESOs, consider making the specific support as tailored as possible. I come from a system whereby I know a majority of ESOs in the market, and I know their curriculums, and most of their curriculums are usually general. They're not tailored and specific to initial business models. And most of these enterprises, and I'm sorry to tell the ESOs, but most of these enterprises, they come to the accelerator programs not because they want to be taught. It's because you offered the carrot at the end that will connect you to investors. They're coming for investors. So if you do not put specific markers that you have to attend 90% of the classes, you will not see them. And they are honest, they are here, they'll tell you. So make it as tailored as possible. Work with specific investors. Identify 1 or 2 investors that you can curate pipeline that is close to the eligibility criteria so that you offtake to them. That way you'll have more graduating enterprises actually getting financing. To the fourth kind of group of ecosystem players are the entrepreneurs. Please, entrepreneurs, listen to me today very well. There is no such thing as there is no money. Please listen today. There is always money. But money depends on the door you are knocking. So make sure you knock the right door. It's not as if there is no money, knock the right one. If your traction is not too much, if you have just started, look for a grant. Don't look for a mark. Mark will not give you money when you don't have no traction. Look for a grant. Look for an angel investor. If you have a bit of traction, look for an impact investor. If you have a lot of traction, look for a commercial bank. These banks will open their door to you once they can see, this person has been around for so many years and there's so much coming in. They will not close the door on you. They don't care if you are in timber or in what sector or in what value chain. They won't care. So knock the right door. To the government, let's create policies. Let's have an enabling environment where these enterprises can thrive. Let us reduce some of these duties that we are imposing on capex, on machinery that these entrepreneurs need to essentially be able to stand and to start operations. And when all of these balls and chains and pieces of the chains work together, there will be no such thing as there's no money in this subsector. There will be no such thing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think it has been an interesting panel. True or not? Could we kindly clap for them once again? Yes. Now, as the moderator, I'm supposed to summarize what has been, said throughout the panel discussion. But I think Mark just did that for me. Yeah, Mark just did that for me, so I don't think I would really belabor the point, but just to make just a few highlights. And I like what you said last. The last point, the second last point, I think is also one of the most crucial points that we take home today, that for the entrepreneurs, we need to learn to knock on the right doors, depending on our stage of growth. So if we are starting and we have this dream, this vision, debt financiers may not look at us, but we'll receive grants if we know where to find them, and so on. For me, I think the other highlight that came from this discussion is there's still a mismatch between what the entrepreneurs expect and what the investors expect. So I think such forums are needed. I know we've had many forums, but I think as we go deeper and deeper into, the counties, there are the usual suspects in the big cities that know these things. But as we get deeper into the counties, I think we cannot overemphasize the importance of having such forums where investors really unpack what it is that they want. And the small-scale farmers who are working with Ms. Wale, because Ms. Wale told us that as she's looking for financing, her small-scale farmers who work with her are also looking for financing. So I think forums like those ones are very, very important. I think capacity building has already been highlighted. I know there's already a lot of technical advice that is being given out, but it cannot be enough. So I think that is very, very important. And I don't want to repeat what Mark has said because I think he summarized it very well. But I also like what Karogo said in terms of investors having a growth, a learning mindset, so that as you keep listening to the entrepreneurs, you are able to to come up with more products that suit their needs. So I think there's that need for the investors also to have their ear on the ground to learn what it is that entrepreneurs need, so that you can keep on customizing the products that you have in the market. And I think in the last few years we've seen a lot of new products that are coming in. For us, ESOs, I think you have hammered the point very well. We need to work with other actors within the space. We need to have those investors that are working with our entrepreneurs as we go on. So just to wrap up, I think it has been a good discussion, and thank you so much, our entrepreneurs and our investors, for honoring us with your presence today. And we cannot take it for granted that every time we call, you come, and we call you many times. So thank you so much. Over to you, David.
So another round of applause. I think also to the moderator. She's done a good job, really. Thank you so much. Now we are wrapping up, and we have a short sort of presentation, one slide that sort of summarizes what has really emerged today. But I'm telling colleagues from FAO here, Marco included, that probably in that blended finance working group, you could consider a good number of the investors who are here with us today as part of that working group. I think they really have very, very good insights of what could really help to unlock investments for restorative ventures, right? So, and I don't even know whether it could be possible that some of the entrepreneurs in the restorative ecosystem could be part of it as well. Because I think we need to really hear the voice. And we could hear here from the entrepreneurs what they feel could be lacking and what needs could be done more. So I just consider. And the other bit for your information, the PS is on our way now. So as Philip is telling me, I think she's here in time to close. Not to open, right? So in time to close the session. So I'm thinking probably as she comes, maybe we will probably be taking our tea, having started the cocktail, but probably what we could do is that we would need to anyway give our context. So the presentation that FAO had done in the morning around the project, maybe we would go through it very quickly so she understands what is this AFR 100 initiative and anyway unlocking financing to the sector. And then I'm sure she will have a bit of remarks. And I'm also wondering whether, Mark, you're here, right? Whether we'll give you the floor at that time as well to just one sentence around policy. You know, she's the PS for MSMEs. What kind of policies do MSMEs need from government? Right? Maybe that single line, and then after that we'll give her the floor to make a few remarks when she gets here. So I want to give Anastasia the floor to summarize a bit what we've had today. These are key critical takeaways for tomorrow's session, but also for the program. We're just at the start. Yeah, welcome, Anastasia.
Thank you, David. And thank you, everyone, for being here today. I want to thank Lynette and the whole team of E for Impact. They were walking around, listening to all the conversations, and that allows these takeaways that I'll be presenting. Perfect. Thank you so much. So we've heard a lot of things today. As we were putting this together, I'd put enterprises are central to scaling. But then after listening to the investors, I said, you know what? Viable enterprises is what we need to have here. So viable enterprises are central to scaling landscape restoration. And you have to have coherence, right? In your story, your opportunities, your strategy, and your funding gaps. So that's something from Yunus. These are the takeaways from the whole event today. This isn't just from the panel discussion that was extremely rich and very informative, but also from your one-on-one deal rooms and from your pitching sessions today. So this is something that we will definitely be using for tomorrow's discussions with the international financing institutions. And also, as we said, as we start to build and develop this program, the AFR 100 initiative in Kenya and beyond. The second point that I wanted to highlight here is that capacity building and technical assistance. We've heard a lot of that today. The importance of knowledge sharing, advisory services and mentorship pipelines to have basic requirements for funding. That's been echoed by several financing institutions. That's MESPT, Absa. We've heard them say this over and over again. Something that de-risking investment, that was a very big point today. From the entrepreneur side, it's not easy to access loan financing. There's mistaken perceptions, like the TMA colleague had mentioned. And investors also argue about the need to de-risk these investments. Both entrepreneurs and investors echo that there is no one-fits-all product. Blended finance, whether it's blended finance through co-financing, refinancing, or any other financing mechanisms, are things that we have to keep in mind. There's work to be done on both sides to meet in the middle. We have value addition and market access as catalysts. So the encouragement is to explore value chain groupings and export readiness and organic certifications. There was a point that was brought up in the pitching rooms, and that was that restoration should also be viewed as a vehicle to engage marginalized communities. So we had, for example, Sigor Youth Vision Group that integrates CSR and community development in their business model. Then we have deeper collaboration and longer-term partnerships. I hear Moto Hope was mentioning this specifically. When we have political will with investment flows and policy support, that equals viable hubs for climate-smart enterprises. And then finally, to wrap up all the points that we've discussed here today, it's deeper collaboration and long-term partnerships. As we heard from Ms. Swale of Kaya Nuts, who was quite vocal and I think touched on a lot of pain points that the entrepreneurs sitting in this room here today have. Technical institutions, funders, and governments should work with incubators to bring the most appropriate and effective knowledge to the start of this pipeline, so that by the time you're approaching an investor, you know which door to knock on. This is why we're in this room today, to see how we can bridge these gaps. So as this wraps up kind of the discussion that we've spoke about, if we can go to the next slide, please. I'll take you through some of the next steps, because of course we're here today for the AFR 100 initiative. And what is this in Kenya? So for those who are in the landscape and are here today, can you wave your hands, show us that you're here, that you're present, so we know you? Amazing. Great to see you guys. So there's certain points that will allow for eligibility for the AFR 100 incubation support, one of which is either being present in the landscape or sourcing from the landscape. If you're one of the two, that's one of the criteria to get started in the incubation and acceleration. If you're not, don't worry. We're here today. You've built some networks, you've built some connections. This isn't the end, this isn't the first program, and it won't be the last. So the people that you've met today, you may have connected immediately and exchanged and gotten those opportunities, or you've taken the number and you'll be texting them every day, so that they won't forget you. For this, the plan is to launch the first expression of interest in around July. So the call for expression of interest will be like an application process where you submit your documents, you submit your interest in the program. You will be screened based on the criteria that is developed by the E4Impact team as well as with the FAO Kenya office team. And then the plan is to have the selection happening with the training starting around August and September of 2025. Following that, there will be in-person trainings of 3 days per month with assignments, mentoring, and coaching. So it's a 5-month training period, in person, 3 days every month. You come to the center, you tackle a topic. Something that our finances have been talking today about is also one of the main topics is how to access financing. And that's where it's important, and that's where part of this program, as it's being structured, is working with the financial institutions to develop this curriculum so that when you're done with it, you already have a business plan that has been built on something that you know is expected from the finance guys. And then finally, there'll be a call for grants in March at the end of the program, and then issuing of grants based on the best entrepreneurs. it's important to note that whether you get a grant or not, you win by being part of this program. You win by being part of this program. You learn, you develop your business ideas, you develop your business models, and we see a lot of entrepreneurs who've passed through other programs that are similar and are here today, part of this pipeline, part of this network, to meet with investors, to meet with possible future opportunities for themselves and their business. And then I'd like to quickly acknowledge the team that isn't tasked with all of this. You've probably interacted with some or all of us here today, but this is broken up into 3 teams. We have the FAO Kenya team, which is sitting in that corner. I see Elijah and Philip. Eric's just run out. There's the FAO HQ team. We're lucky to have Marco just in time to join us for the close. Hi, Marco, and Petri as well. And we have some colleagues that are in Rome that are supporting as the backstopping. And then, of course, the main implementers on the ground are the E4Impact team. So we have David, who's been speaking to us here today, John, Isabella, Bernadette, Justin, Alex, Elijah, and Sarah. So I want to thank all of you guys, the E4Impact team, for also such a beautifully created, orchestrated event. I think we've all gathered a lot of benefit and value from being in this room today. And I think that brings me to the end. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Anastasia. I think a very good wrap-up touched on all the main points that came up today and also the next steps. So I think it's very clear where we are going from now onwards. So I just want to invite you to a bit of a cocktail and networking event that will start now. What we had said is that you probably might not have met all the investors, or all the investors might not have met all the entrepreneurs, but now this is that time to actually exchange contacts, pick the next conversation. We have documented, based on all the pitching that was going on, all the conversations in the deal rooms, the tables, and even as some of the investors were leaving, they kept telling me, you know, I've indicated the next business I want to talk to as soon as possible. Eric mentioned those ones that are ready for his investment. So all that has been tabulated. So what we'll be doing is just to collate all that and share it with you. We tell you this investor actually wants to talk to you, or the other way around, right? So we want to do that. So and in the next couple of weeks, we'll be doing that. So this was just the beginning, just to get the ball rolling, and I think we've rolled it well. Like, it's going to gather momentum. So I invite you to that session. I've mentioned that as soon as the PS comes, we will then close formally for this first day, right? So we'll come back here, give a bit of a highlight, and then we will close for the day, right? So thank you, and thank you all again, you know? Really, the investors, taking a whole day to sit in is not easy. It's not easy, right? But it's a commitment. It shows that you really want to be involved. I was mentioning also to Eric that, the entrepreneurs and the nature-based, they are not of anyone. They're not of E4Impact. Like, we are all building and strengthening the ecosystem, right? For all, for a better tomorrow. And that's what so there's no exclusivity here. It's for all of us, right? And that's why I think with this networking, we want to see that really all of us are conversing together. So thank you once more. And probably might still convene, right? It depends. Enjoy the cocktail. And yes, thank you.